Bloating. Do you ever have that feeling where you have that terrible, you've eaten too much or you're swollen, or maybe you just put on your favorite pair of pants and you're going, how did this happen? Why is my gut hanging out? Well, we've all suffered from those type of conditions, but there are some very distinct causes that actually cause that. And today, we're going to talk about a variety of things: what causes bloating, how to get rid of it quickly, some natural remedies that you can use, and also some bigger indications. If you're getting bloating a lot, you're really going to watch this because it could be indicative of something way worse than that. But don't worry, we're going to cover some things that you can help you work for. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So let's talk about this today. What is bloating? Or we've all kind of experienced bloating. We've all had that deal, where we felt bloated, or we woke up bloated, or we didn't know what happened and we got bloated. What is bloating, and what does it cause, or what is it indicative of? Because I guess there's some bigger issues going on here.
Well, yeah, it could be something that is really just happened because you ate wrong foods, or you maybe got dehydrated, things like that. We'll get into causes in a little bit. But usually, technically speaking, bloating is a buildup of gases in your intestines, and basically that's ballooning up.
Causes a distension of your stomach, right?
Yeah. And it also can be kind of like a water retention and holding more water around the colon area, because the body's trying to protect itself from certain things or correct the electrolyte balance or something like that. So it's usually a combination of those two. Basically, anatomically, what happens when we're chewing and we're eating, the food gets into our stomach, and the stomach it gets all churned, and the pH condition changes, so you can get digestion of some of the proteins. Then we'll add some minerals and things getting more alkalized, and they go into the small intestine. But the small intestine enzymes start getting to work, and they start breaking down more that food into smaller particles, and that food gets small particles get absorbed in villi, which is real places where the absorption happens in the small intestine. And whatever is not getting absorbed, and there's larger particles of food or molecules, they go into the large intestine, or your colon, basically. Right. And then it becomes food for bacteria there.
Right.
So, and if you have imbalance of flora, let's say, or if you had too much undigested proteins, or too many undigested sugars that got into the gut and started fermenting, you'll have a buildup of gases, and that's where you will get the bloating from. So basically, bloating is a combination of digestion issue, and could be also timing. You might have eaten too much at one time. It could be also caused by changes in your hormonal balance. For example, for women, right before they have their cycle, there's changes in estrogen. The body prepares for shedding of the materials from the uterus, and basically you build up more fluid. So you will get more fluid retention, and the bowels usually for a lot of women get slowed down during that time of the year. Time of the months. So that could be hormonal, basically. So we've got the food, we've got hormonal changes. Sometimes it can be even reaction due to stress. If you had been very stressed out and you had too much cortisol in your system, basically it can also
travel, flying, pressure at work.
Flying, yeah, it's a combination also of being away from the electromagnetic field and being in a plane and those pressurized cabins, and like you said, pressure at work or emotional stress. Any type of stress like this, that can also slow down how you're digesting the foods, and if it's slowing down and there's a buildup of gases from their food hanging out for too long and fermenting in your gut, that's where you will get bloating as well. Another cause can be dehydration. For example, if you ate a whole bunch of salty foods the night before, like popcorn in the movies, something that's commercially salted, especially with a salt that is devoid of minerals, and just basically dehydrates you, your body will then hold on to water next time you drink water, because it would want to protect the guts from not having enough water, and from the bowels to slow down due to not having enough water. So that could be a factor as well. So you got the bad food, you got the stress, you got the hormonal reasons, and you could also have dehydration reasons for this.
So if someone is experiencing bloating a lot, so it's something that happens, they're noticing I'm always feel bloated, or as a guy my stomach is distended and I seem to be eating pretty well, or I got the muffin top if I'm a girl and I put on my bathing suit and I don't know why. What are some ways that we can start monitoring that and address that? Hydration is one, watching what you eat. What are some things that we can do?
Well, first of all, if you do have excessive bloating, if it happens a lot, and if you have some other symptoms that are correlating with this bloating, for women, if they have changes in their cycle and there's pain around their cycle time and they have the bloating that's happening all the time, not just around their cycle as well, you really want to get checked out by a doctor and make sure you don't have cysts or an ovarian cancer, because that happens a lot with
very common, right?
Very common with ovarian cyst and cancer, that you will have consistent bloating. The other type for men, also prostate cancer, that can also cause bloating all the time. You also want to check for some of the other symptoms like fatigue and maybe changes in your energy levels. The other condition that is very common is called small intestinal overgrowth, or SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, or SIBO. Basically, that happens when in the small intestine, in those places where the digestion happens, the absorption of nutrients happen, they're called villi, where too much bacteria starts hanging out there and prevents the food from basically being absorbed, and the nutrients be absorbed. And again, more of it ends up in a larger intestine. That's where you will get again more fermentation and more food for let's say bad flora, bad bugs.
Yeah, we talked about in the education series that you can start getting a buildup of these bad bacteria. There's good bacteria and there's bad bacteria in your body, and if you're getting bloating a lot, you probably have or it's likely that you have
it's likely you will have overgrowth of candida and other stuff, but SIBO is a specific condition set, so you might want to get checked out and get a breath test and make sure that you don't have that. If there is excessive bloating, even if you already cut out all the problem foods and you are using all the digestive aids and you already got on a whole cleanup version of your diet, right? So if you're having that, you might want to get checked out again by a doctor. The other condition called diverticulitis.
Diverticulitis, right? Yeah, I know that's a tough one.
Sorry, sometimes it's hard to say. So that's a condition where some of the fecal matter gets built up in the colon in these pockets, and there's more bacterial inflammation happens there, and there could be obstruction of bowels.
Very painful.
Very painful. So if you've got abdominal pain and also blood coming with your stool and and the bloating all the time, that's probably a condition like we just discussed. You might want to get checked out by the doctor. So all of those are serious conditions you want to pay attention to and get a second look at by a professional. But if it is bloating from food and you keep track of what you're eating and you're seeing that you bloat from XYZ, you might want to be getting rid of it from your diet. The common triggers are things like dairy, especially commercial dairy that uses a lot of antibiotics in their production. So the milk and the dairy products will have antibiotics in that, so that will cause a bacterial change and microflora change in the gut, and that will in turn will cause bloating and those gas built up. Too many sugars, not digested protein, so having low caloric acid, and also could have heartburn at the same time and acid reflux. Also usually indication there's low acid in the stomach, and then you're not having your protein digested and it ferments and gets into the gut and builds up for the bloating. Might be too much stress. You want to be really looking at your hormonal balance. Maybe you have too much estrogen if you're a woman, going 40 and up, before you're getting to changes in the menstrual cycle. You want to be looking at your estrogen levels and addressing those, and that will help you with bloating. For men, obviously testosterone. And overall, you want to get into a healthier lifestyle, more whole foods, more fiber-rich foods, more probiotic-based foods, cutting out the sugar, gluten, and dairy. Those are the usual offenders for them, something like that. And then also watching your stress levels, using meditation techniques and stressful techniques, getting out in nature, getting on the sunshine. All of those things help you combat things like bloating. And even if those things don't work, and at the same time, you might want to look at digestive aids to help you break down those sugars and those proteins that are not getting digested and becoming food for bad bacteria. So you want to look at digestive enzymes. That can be real key for people with bloating issues. Probiotics, again, can help you create better gut flora that can help you digest those, crowd out the bed bugs and create more, good flora that can give you nutrients instead of the bad byproducts of too much candida or fungus or those bed bugs. And also things like slippery elm, digestive herbs like coriander and cinnamon and ginger, all of those amazing herbs you can use in your meals or you can drink as a tea that can help you with digestion and reducing of the bloating, and proper hydration. Having great water cannot be said enough how important hydration is to us, and you have covered that in your series about different types of water available for you to get more hydrated. So those are like the basics of you wanting to be looking at. So lifestyle, digestive aids, proper hydration, exercise. Actually, yoga is amazing for helping you with bloating. Some of the poses that yogis are using, like even called the wind relieving poses, where you're twisting the body so the body can relieve some of that built up gas. Just in general, movement and lymphatic movement can help you with bloating as well.
A couple quick things you touched on. That was a lot of information. Thank you so much. I know a lot of people, we talked about hydration. Caffeine and alcohol, those really can interrupt hydration, and a lot of people will go out maybe on a night, or they get up and they drink coffee all day long, maybe have a couple drinks at night. They wake up in the morning and they're totally bloated, or they're like, oh, I feel terrible. What's happening there, or how do you deal with that?
Obviously there's a dehydration process that's happening when we drink alcohol and consuming too much coffee. It can also change your cortisol levels, especially if you're drinking a lot of coffee and you have stress. So that will again create a situation where it will feed more bad bacteria with the extra cortisol in your body. So those are two things that definitely happen. You lose some nutrients, obviously, when your body has to work really hard to get rid of the alcohol effect, especially your liver. If your methylation cycle, which is a whole other question, topic. So if your liver has a really hard time processing alcohol and coffee, there's actually genetic markers that you can get tested for, and it shows that you should really not be drinking coffee or alcohol. You just have really hard time genetically getting rid of those byproducts of metabolism when you consume those. So those are the things you need to look at, obviously, and it changes electrolyte balance. Right. So in electrolytes, if you change electrolyte balance, obviously hydration changes, and how much water is being retained in the gut, and how fast or slow the gut is emptying.
So really, it comes down to just some few things. Drinking water regularly throughout the day. If you find that you're sensitive to a food and you're waking up bloated, so maybe journaling so they can kind of track what's going on. Staying hydrated. Maybe even if it's extreme conditions, looking at maybe some genetic testing, or if you have bloating a lot, make sure you see your GP to get some tests on that in case it's something more serious. But ultimately, it comes down to lifestyle, and even if you're really compromised, if you add in some digestive aids or something like that, you can kind of bring that back over time as you start incorporating some of these healthy practices.
Absolutely.
Well, that's great. Thank you so much. And I know they can find you on the site as well. So great topic on bloating. Of course, it's part of our digestive cities. We have a lot of information at Bioptimizers. And thank you for joining us today, Katrine. We really appreciate sharing. And go out there and take charge of your life, change your lifestyle, incorporate some of these things, and get rid of that bloating forever.